Let's look at Chapter 7, Lesson 10, Practice, Fractions and Measurement. Write the missing number. In order to figure out what the missing number is, I need to figure out the difference in between two known numbers. So on this chart, I have between 0 and 1, and I know that that's 1. So I would add 1 more to get my answer of 2 here. Let's figure out number 1. The only numbers that are together are 1.5 and 2. I need to figure out what's the difference between 1.5 and 2. And I know that 1.5 plus a half would equal 2. So for each of these, I'm going to add a half to it. So 2 plus a half is 2.5. 2.5 plus a half is 3. And 3 plus a half is 3.5. Now to go backwards, I need to subtract halves. 1.5 minus a half is 1. 1 minus a half is a half. And then a half to get to 0 would be a half, which is exactly right. Number 2, the one that I know is between 0 and 1/3, and I know that I'm adding 1/3 to each one. So to get to here, I would add 1/3. So 1/3 plus 1/3. If you don't know how to do that, you can write it out. 1/3 plus 1/3 equals 2/3. Then I have 2/3 plus another third would be 1. 1 plus 1/3 is 1 and 1/3. Then I have 1 and 2/3. And then I have a whole number again, which would be 2. 2 plus a third is 2 and 1/3. Plus another third would be 2 and 2/3. Plus another third would be 3. Plus another third would be 3 and 1/3. Writing out the numbers, even if they aren't in the boxes, will help you keep track of what you're doing. Number 3. It looks like I have between 0 and 1/6. So in between one line, I'm going to add 1/6. So I know that 1/6 plus 1/6 would be 2/6 plus another 6. So 2/6 plus 1/6 equals 3/6, which would be reduced to 1/2. If you have 3/6, that's perfectly all right. 3/6 plus another 6 would be 4/6, plus another 6 would be 5/6, plus another 6 would be 6/6, and I know that 6/6 equals 1. 1 plus 1/6 is 1 1/6. 1 and 1/6 plus a 6 would be 1 and 2/6. I can reduce that down though to 1 and 1/3. Moving on, I have 1 and 3/6, which would be 1.5. 1 and 4/6. 1 and 5/6. 1 and 5/6 plus another 6 would be 1 and 6/6, but I know 6/6 is 1, so it would be 1 plus 1, which is 2. Then I have 2 and 1/6, 2 and 2/6, 2 and 3/6, which is 2.5, and 2 and 4/6. I know that 2 and 4/6 though would be reduced to 2 and 2/3. You can see also that this correlates up here. Then I have 2 and 5/6, and then I have 3. Then I have 3 plus 1/6 is 3 and 1/6. Remember to reduce when possible. Let's look at number 4 where we're finding a missing number. So remember, whatever you do to the top or bottom, you have to do to the other. So 2, and then how did I get that to 4? 2 times 2 would equal 4, and 1 times 2 would get my numerator of 2. Now for number 5, there's a whole number. Whole numbers stay the same. Whenever you're changing a fraction, you just change the fractional part, not the whole number, which is why the 1 stayed the same over here. So how did I get 3 to 6? I multiplied it by 2. So I do the same to the numerator. 1 times 2 is 2. Number 6, I have 3/6 equals 1 over something. How did I get 3 to be 1. Now if I want to make the number smaller, I would divide 3 by 3 to equal 1, or 6 divided by 3 would equal 2. For the test prep, a fraction of this group of circles is shaded. Which figure below represents a fraction with the same value? So let's figure out what the value is. I have 4 out of 6 shaded. Now I can reduce that number by finding the greatest common factor. And I know that common factors for 4 would be 4. So it would be 1 and 4, and then 2 times 2. But I only write 1, 2 down. For 6, it'd be 1 and 6, 2 and 3. What's the greatest common factor? 2. 4 divided by 2 is 2. 6 divided by 2 is 3. So 4/6 is equal to 2/3. Now, if I wasn't quite sure of how to reduce it, I could also compare the fractions. So for letter A, I have 3/4. B, I have 4/8. C, I have 3/6. And D, I have 2/3. I could compare these fractions to 4/6 by using the arrow technique. Do 6 times 3 is 18, and 4 times 4, which is 16. By doing this, I'd be able to narrow it down and figure out that it is 2/3. Remember to show your work whether you use the arrow technique or if you use greatest common factor. Remember, using greatest common factor is definitely going to be helping you reduce fractions.